I'm Aid Grilly. I'm back with season preview, playoff prediction. I'm just going to tell you about now the six-seeded team, in my opinion, is I think it's going to be the Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, this team, they didn't lose much. The only guy they lost was Rudy Gay. They lost Lionel Hollins. I mean, that's the big loss. I mean, you lost your coach. You lost a very good coach who knew how to stop a lot of teams, and that's why they won a lot of games, and that's why they beat OKC and the Western semifinals 4-1. But I think this team's going to be okay. They still got some of the core pieces. The big three on that team is Mike Conley, Zach Randolph, and Marcus Gasol. And I don't see, I think they're the best big man combo in the league. These guys are the key scorers of that team, and Mike Conley complements them very well. I think they're all going to have big years. The fact that Rudy Gay is gone, and they're going to have a bigger role to fill on that team. And now they have got defensive guys. I really like Tony Allen on the defensive end, Quincy Pondexter. They're good defensive players. Tayshaun Prince is another one. He's going to come off the bench for them this year. They got a new coach, new system. I think Memphis will be fine. They're going to give teams trouble. I'm telling you that front court alone is going to give teams trouble. And off the bench, they got a guy like Ed Davis. They brought back Mike Miller. They got three-point shooting. They got Mike Miller. They're going to be fine. I think Memphis are going to be just fine. As a sixth seed, yeah, I'm sorry, they're not top four. I mean, you lost some guys. You're not going to be top four if you lose like 2 or 3 guys that are key assets to your team. So, and also losing Lionel Hollins, I mean, that just sucks. It's unlucky. But yeah, those guys are going to be just fine there down there in Memphis. Number 7, I'm going to say the Denver Nuggets. They're another team that lost guys too. They lost Kufos. They lost Brewer. This season, it's a bigger role for Ty Lawson and Kenneth Faried. I think this is the year they need to show that they're the elites, that they're going to be an elite player. The way Ty Lawson runs point guard, runs that team, he's quick, man. I like his quickness. And Kenneth Faried's strong rebounding and his scoring on a low post it's great. That's the strength of the Denver Nuggets. The way now they added Nate Robinson, he loves running the floor. He's going to stretch the floor. He can make big time shots. He was great for the Chicago Bulls last year. The guy they're going to be waiting on though is Danilo Gallinari. I like this guy. The way he shoots the basketball and the way he takes the hoop. He's just a great player, and he complements Lawson and the rest of their team. And I think the 8th seed, it's going to be tough for the 8th seed. There's a lot of teams fighting. I think Dallas is one. Portland's another, and the Lakers. Yeah, you don't count out the LA Lakers. If Kobe Bryant's there. Dallas, they made some key moves. They got Jose Calderon. He's going to be a fantastic player. He's a smart player, great shooter. He's going to complement Dirk and Shawn Marion. Another guy they brought in, Monte Ellis. He was key in Milwaukee. Him and Brandon Jennings were fantastic. I see the same thing happening with him and Jose Calderon and Devin Harris. So they also picked up in the free agent market. They also picked up DeJuan Blair, who's going to come in for Dirk, or Samuel Dalembert, who also signed with Dallas. So, Dallas, I don't think they have that much of a supporting cast off the bench, but I think they can probably be an 8th seed with the guys they got. The other team, Portland, we know Portland's a good team. Damian Lillard has improved his point guard play last year, the Rookie of the Year. Now this year he's going to prove that he's in the elite status of the point guards. He's a good 3-point shooter. He makes his teammates better. I like LaMarcus Aldridge. He's a double-double man. He's going to make a lot of teams score on that low post, as he always does. But the thing is Portland really going to get over that hump? Are they going to get over the hump? I think they have the guys to do it. They have the guys to do it. Just I don't know if they're going to win. I don't know if they're going to win. It's Portland. I mean, not very successful. I mean, they have, last year they were a decent team, but, that Western Conference is tough, I'm telling you. Another team that I also think, besides Dallas and the Lakers and Portland, is the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, these guys are, they added Kevin Martin. He's going to stretch the floor. He's going to make threes. They added Corey Brewer. He's going to bring toughness to that D. And the emergence of Ricky Rubio is going to be key for that team, because he's the quarterback of that team. He could be a triple-double man every night if he wanted to. He is that good. He is that smart of a player. Those Spanish guys, I'm telling you, they're great. Calderon, Juan Carlos Navarro, those guys are good. He learns from the best. Now, the guy we know, Kevin Love, broke his hand last year. He's the best player on that team. This is a big year for Kevin Love. He's gonna get reason why this team's gonna get over the hump. Another guy, Nikola Pekovic, he had a great year last year because no one could fill that spot because Budinger was hurt, Rubio was hurt, Love was hurt. Pekovic was great last year. He's going to have the same production, even better with Love back. He's a double-double machine. He's great on the low post. He gives guys a lot of trouble underneath that rim. So that's my Minnesota perspective. The Lakers, with them, with Kobe Bryant's out, I mean, they did add Nick Young, they added Wesley Johnson, they added Chris Kaman, and they have some guys from last year. The two biggest guys besides Kobe we all know, is Nash and Paul Gasol. And those guys got to get rolling early. I mean, yeah, sure, you're missing your best player. They're one of the best players of all time, but they gotta go. They gotta keep going. I don't know. D'Antoni's got to see what he can jiggle with this offense, and I think they'll be okay. It's tough, He lost the White. Kobe said he doesn't care if the White left. I mean, basketball's a business, and you got to go where it's fitting. And the White wasn't working in LA because it didn't compliment Kobe and it didn't compliment Nash. Yeah, they did win some key games. They won some games down the stretch, but that's not how the Lakers were rolling last year, and it wasn't working. So that's my Western Conference perspective. I believe that OKC is still the team to beat in the Western Conference, but if they're not healthy, I think it'll be San Antonio because they're that good, and Craig Popovich is just a fantastic coach. Now I'm going to talk to you about the Eastern Conference. I don't see anybody beating this team. I hate to say it, but I don't see anybody beating this team, but I do see a lot of teams thinking of the Game 7. It is the Miami Heat. They just added more to this team. I mean, they added Michael Beasley. They added Greg Oden. I mean, these guys are just picking out anybody they want, and they're winning. That's the key thing. They're winning. What did they lose? 16 games last year? That's how good they are. That's how good they are. They had a 23-game winning streak. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. They grow so much. Everybody on that team grows. The only guy that lost was Mike Miller. And quite frankly, who cares if they lost Mike Miller? Because they just added a couple more guys. So, they got guys that can take it to the hoop. They got guys that can pound it underneath. And they got guys that can shoot threes. They got core guys. But I tell you, the guy that makes the Miami Heat good and makes them win those key games is Dwayne Wade. Because without Dwayne Wade, I see people beating the Heat. I see people beating the Heat if they don't have Dwayne Wade because he compliments LeBron and Chris Bosh and Ray Allen and Chalmers. He compliments those guys, and he's the reason why this team won that championship. He's the reason why in Game 4 of the NBA championship that they won, or San Antonio would have went up 3-1. He's the reason why. And a 100% healthy Dwayne Wade is one of the best in the NBA. Do I agree he's a top 10 player? Absolutely. He is 8, 9, or 10. I don't see him in the top 5 no more because, he's getting older now. But he's won 3 rings. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Miami Heat are still the best team in the NBA. But a lot of teams are going to give him some trouble. The number 2 team, in my opinion, it's going to be the Indiana Pacers. I'm sorry, Bulls fans. It's Indiana. That's a team that's going to be beat. Now, Indiana, they made a great offseason acquisitions. They got a backup point guard in C.J. Watson from the Brooklyn Nets. He's great. He can shoot the basketball. He's going to run that team. He's going to give George Hill a spell for breaks. They added Luis Scola. I like this guy. The way he puts the ball in the rim on the low post, in the net, he's great. I love Scola. That's great compliments. The emergence of Lance Stevenson. This guy's a really hard worker. He makes Indiana a better team. He was great starting at the 2 last year for Indiana in the absence of Danny Granger. Now that Granger's back, he's an all-star. I think Granger can be an all-star if he's healthy. But the guy who's going to lead this team is Paul George. He's the guy who runs this team, and he compliments everybody. He's the guy that makes their team good on D and good on O. He makes some big-time shots. I love the front court duo. I think this is a top 5 front court duo. And Roy Hibbert and David West, along with Scola. You had Scola and Jan Mahinmi. Indiana's going to win almost 60 games. I think they can win 58, 59, 60, maybe 61. They're good. They're that good of a team, and they have that good of a coach in Frank Vogel. They're going to be just fine in Denver. in Indiana, and they're going to make the Miami Heat score them in a couple games. And I see them playing the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, that's going to be a rematch. Miami versus Indiana, and I think Indiana can beat them, but I don't think that'll happen because Miami is just that good. Number 3, you guys all waiting for this. It's my number 3 prediction is going to be Chicago Bulls. They got Derrick Rose back. That's the end of the story. But the way Rose is just that good of a player. He's an all-star. He's probably the best scoring point guard besides Russell Westbrook in this league. He complements Boozer and Noah very good. I mean, he's got a lot of weapons around him, and of course, with a coach like Tom Thibodeau, Chicago is just that good of a team. And I don't think they're better than Indiana. I think they're just a little bit behind. I think they're missing something. The emergence of Luol Deng and Jimmy Butler and Taj Gibson. Those guys are great players that complement Rose. And the Bulls are going to be just fine. They're going to be back there. And they were number 5 without Rose last year, believe it or not. And they did beat the Brooklyn Nets. So I like to see what Rose is really made of. I think he's going to be just fine. Is he going to be that all-star elite status? He will be an all-star. We're going to find out how elite and good he really is after his ACL injury and sitting out 1 full year. Game 1 against the Miami Heat on October 29th on ESPN. Now, the number 4 team in the Eastern Conference is going to be Brooklyn again. Brooklyn, they made probably the biggest offseason acquisitions. They got the big ticket, Kevin Garnett. They brought in Paul Pierce. They brought in Jason Terry. They brought in Allen Anderson. They brought in Andrei Kirilenko. The list just goes on. They drafted Mason Plumlee. How deep is this team? But are they really that good? Are they really good? Because really, last year, we saw the true identity of that team. And that identity was playing defense, because Chicago's the defensive team, and they shut down the Nets, and the Bulls were scoring on them. Nate Robinson was making clutch shots on that Brooklyn Nets defense. Now I think they got a bit tougher. I love Brook Lopez. I love the way he pounds it inside. When Joe Johnson was clutch last year, we know he can hit big time shots, especially threes. And now it's the guy who's got to make him good this year, who's got to bring him over that hump, is Deron Williams. This is a big year for that guy. He's one of the best point guards in the NBA. He's got to show why Brooklyn is one of the best teams, and I like to see the feud between Brooklyn and Miami. It's going to be fantastic for those two. I think it's going to be the biggest rivalry this year. Number 5 is their counterpart in that Atlantic Division, and that's the New York Knicks. There's a lot you can say about the Knicks. Carmelo testing free agency next year. He doesn't want to leave, but the thing is, New York is not winning. New York is not winning, and it's tough for a guy like Carmelo Anthony. So it's tough for the New York Knicks. They brought in Andrea Bargnani. I like that. He's going to stretch the floor. He's going to play the 4-man. He's a great player. It wasn't working for him in Toronto. We all know that. Number 1 overall, first overall pick in 06. Great player. Just it wasn't working out for Toronto. I think will work out in New York. I think he can average about 10 to 13 points. He can knock down threes. He's great. They brought in Metta World Peace. They brought in toughness. That's what I like. They brought in Metta World Peace. They brought toughness. The guy they lost Steve Novak. I mean, it's okay. He lost Steve Novak, 3-point shooter. You brought in Bargnani. That's okay. But you did give up some picks. But the Knicks are going to be fine. Chandler's the best center, the defensive center in the NBA, I think, besides a healthy Dwight Howard. Amari, he's battled with injuries. We're going to see how he's going to play this year. We know Carmelo's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Is he better than Kevin Durant at scoring? It's debatable. I mean, Carmelo did win it last year, but it is debatable. Another guy, Iman Shumpert, Pablo Prigioni. They're 2 guys, they're growing. They're growing as players. I know Prigioni's 35, 36, but that's okay. They're growing. This team's going to be fine. Mike Woodson in that game. They're gonna lose some tough games. They're gonna lose to the Heat. They're gonna lose to Indiana. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough games. 6, 7, and 8 of the Eastern Conference is a toss-up between 6 teams, and I'll tell you who those 6 teams are: the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Toronto Raptors, Detroit Pistons, Milwaukee Bucks. I'll put them in there. Boston Celtics, and I'm gonna say Charlotte Bobcats. I'm gonna say those 6 teams. The 3 teams I think will be 6, 7, 8. Number 6, I personally think that The Toronto Raptors will be number 6 in the Eastern Conference. I'm telling you right now, this team got better. They haven't made the playoffs in like 5 years. They're going to get better. They got better. I mean, they did trade for Rudy Gay last year. They were over 500 with Rudy Gay last year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. With Rudy Gay is a fantastic player. The way he scores the basketball, he's tough. He's a tough player. And I think they had the best, a top 10 count, 1-2 punch. DeMar DeRozan. I like DeRozan. He was on another team with the no. Now he's on a good Raptor team. Now he's on a good Raptor team. He can make an All-Star team. DeRozan and Gay, they're going to be fine in Toronto. I think they brought in toughness. Tyler Hansbrough is great. The biggest question for this team is going to be the big man from Lithuania, Jonas Valanciunas. If this guy can score and just be a bulldozer on defense, along with Amir Johnson, they're going to be just fine. And if they can limit their turnovers on offense, I'm talking about Kyle Lowry. If he can do that, the Raptors are going to be just fine. They're going to win some big games. I'm telling you, they're going to win big games. They're defensively, they're going to be fine. Most underrated big man in the league, I think, is Amir Johnson. The way he fights is fantastic. He's one of the smaller big men, but he fights. He's the guy who's going to dive on the floor. He's going to get you rebounds. I like the acquisitions they brought in, right? Hansborough's 1, toughness. They brought in Novak, that's 3. The guy who's going to emerge off the bench, the second-year guy out of Washington, that's Terrence Ross. He's great. I think he's going to complement Gay and DeRozan, and this team is going to be just fine. I like Dwayne Casey. He's a great coach. Now, number 7. Number 7 is going to be, I'm going to say the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know what? They made a lot of great moves. I love Kyrie Irving. The way Kyrie Irving takes to the hole and makes big-time shots. He's developing into that elite status of a player, and he makes guys better. Dion Waiters is straight up pure scorer. I love Dion Waiters. Great scorer. I probably think they got the best core of young big men in Tristan Thompson. They got Tyler Zeller. They got Anderson Barrage. They brought in Andrew Bynum. Hopefully he's healthy for that team because they got a lot of weapons, and they drafted number 1 Canadian overall, Anthony Bennett. He's going to be another forward that's going to be involved in that rotation. They brought in Earl Clark, good guy from the LA Lakers. They brought in, I told you earlier, the best player off the bench for the Golden State Warriors. That was Jarrett Jack. He's going to be just fine. Him and when Kyrie and Jack play together, watch out. Those guys are going to be dangerous. So I really think Cleveland's going to get over that hump. They're going to make the playoffs. They brought in Coach Mike Brown. They got rid of Byron Scott. I mean, it's debatable who could be coach of that team because they're both good coaches. So Cleveland's going to be that number 7 team in the Eastern Conference.